In the first of many of Genmax's new lineup, this is the new 1050 Tri-Fuel Inverter Generator. This is great for home backup and more. We're going to go through all the features that they included with this to make it so user-friendly that this is basically a plug-and-play unit. All you have to do is add some fuel and oil and you are ready to go.
The new GM10500 is a tri-fuel unit that runs off of gasoline, propane, and natural gas. And with a large 6.9 gallon fuel tank, you can run about 8.1 hours at 50% load on gasoline or about 14 hours at 1/4% load. It can be started with remote start, a pull starter, and also electric start. This new unit is also including a ton of accessories to make sure you have everything you need to get going. Inside the box, you'll see a manual. Honestly, not enough people read these. A toolkit, also a funnel, and they even included a bag or a cover, which this now can cover up the generator and at least keep some of the weather off of it. Also an automatic transfer switch cable, which if power goes out, you can automatically have the generator start if you have the auto transfer switch. You have a propane cable, which this can connect to a bottle. And then they even included the natural gas line, which this is long enough to be far enough away from the house, and they included the adapter that you can attach to the house, so now you're ready to go. But wait, there's more. There's also an L1430R twist lock plug, a 50 amp plug. They also include two 20 amp plugs and a bonding plug. Since it's neutral floating, this is the easiest way to bond a generator. And another thing I was talking to Genmax about was including onboard chargers on some of their units. That way they're always charged and ready to go. Now as we take a look at the display, this does have a main on-off power button, along with a fuel source switch going from propane, natural gas, and also fuel. Then along with the display up top, which will show hours, runtime, voltage, load, and more, low oil light, overload, and your power light, and then a main start button. They also have this quick adapter, which this is actually kind of cool because it does two different things. You can use a quick coupler, or you can unscrew this and then use a 3/8 flare connection type if you wanted to run this off of a different type of connection. Being an inverter generator, it also has a low idle function, and I also talked to them about adding the DC 12 volt socket back versus just USB ports. This is much more universal. Above that, you will see where you plug in your charger, which I'm really glad they added this, and you should see this on more units that are coming out soon. And along with this L1430R twist lock plug, this is one connection you can use to maybe your house, along with a pair of GFI 20 amp plugs. And above that, we do have an LED light, which this is actually pretty bright, but only works when the generator is on or running, and it does have auto shut off. And you have your voltage switch. This allows you to go full power 120 or 240, and that'll provide all power to both legs of the generator, whether you're using this 50 amp plug or the L1430R plug. Under here is where you'll see that ATS plug or automatic transfer switch plug, and this is something they'll probably have available soon. And then this is where you'll see your 50 amp plug. This is great for either home use, travel trailers, or maybe a food truck. And then this generator can be paralleled as well, along with a reset button. The generator also has a folding handle with a quick release latch. This allows you to move the unit around much easier. But now it's time to get inside this engine and take a look and get some oil in it, and we'll go over a few items. Okay, so the first thing we see is our internal regulator. This is for natural gas. The propane regulator is external on the cord. This is a 460i or 458cc engine from Genmax. And then if we look down here, it looks like there's two drain plugs, but actually the gray one is kind of the oil filter, oil strainer, and that's the oil drain bolt. Now, in order to get that drain plug out, you have to remove this rubber plug. This is where you'll get a long extension and then remove the bolt. But before you do that, if you look down here, there's another rubber plug you have to take out. After you remove this guy, now the oil can drain kind of down this little runway and then into a catch pan underneath. Now in the manual or on the side panel, it'll show you how much oil to put in the generator, but you don't want to put that full amount in, as sometimes there is some leftover oil in it, so you can overfill it and make a big mess. But while you guys are here, this is also a great time to smash that like button for me if you like the video, and think about joining the group and subscribe and ring that bell if you want to be notified of more videos coming out. After you fill up the generator, make sure that the oil is up to the cross hatches, and now you're ready to go. Go ahead and replace the side panel, and we'll take off the other side panel and go to the other side to hook up the battery. Now the battery cable is basically just right behind it. You can hook this up super simply, and then we can move on and take a look at the overview of this. You can see your spark plug up top, a couple of stepper motors. This is your air box. You don't need any tools, a little thumb screw down there. That's also the solenoid. When flipping over to propane or natural gas, it'll close off the fuel. And honestly, I think this was supposed to have a lithium battery, but these maintenance-free lead acid ones are actually easier to still find right now. So okay, since I don't want to fill this up with a bunch of gas, because I know I won't use this until, the power goes out, I'm just going to use propane for now for the first initial startup. We'll see how it works, but turn this on. All right, now we'll turn on our main switch here. That powers up our display, which that looks good. Hopefully the frame rate doesn't mess it up too much for you. And now we're going to go to propane here. This will switch the little solenoid that we looked at earlier on the carburetor. And we'll make sure this is off. And away we go. So it might take a couple to fire up, but well, and there we go. Okay, a little walk around the generator. So far sounds great. Not bad for a larger unit. See the exhaust out there. Kind of a little close-up shot. But honestly, not too bad, and this is wide open, really. Honestly, it sounds good to me, so what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Let's go ahead and turn this guy down a little bit. So right now it's running at max RPM 3600. We'll turn this down. And let's see how far that drops. Wow, that's nice. That dropped down quite a bit, so that's pretty good for a large generator. We'll have to see how loud this is. We'll do a sound check here in just a second. Okay, quick look at the display, and you can see our voltage, frequency, also power on the right. And when you change this, it won't change that voltage. It'll just go back and forth between 248, and then it should say 120 something here in a second. Plus our hours, which there isn't any. And it should show our runtime for this session. Right now we're at 1 minute, and there's our voltage now at 124 volts. Here's a little LED light, which cool, right? It's actually pretty bright. And when you shut the generator off, this will shut off in about 30 seconds. Okay, if you've seen any of my videos, I do this same sound test at this spot right here marked on the ground. This is 23 feet away where most manufacturers measure. And so right now, this is as quiet as it'll get, and concrete is always the loudest. But we are right about 61, which this is pretty good for a large generator and a large engine. Now, if you're wondering if gasoline is quieter than propane or the opposite, is propane quieter, well, it's not. I've done several tests running them both, checking sound levels, and they're the same. The only thing that makes a difference is the generator type. But we are going to put this up into the upper RPM, basically. This will put it at max RPM, like if you had a max load on it. And this will kind of give us an idea of how loud this might be. At least when it's new anyway, they can break in and get a little bit louder, so. Alright, so right about 72 dB, which for this size unit, this is actually not bad. This is where a lot of other small 4,500, 3,500 watt generators come in at. So considering it is so big, it's actually not that bad. Okay, so load test time. I have the generator hooked up to propane. This is my onboard line. So those are basically just coming to the onboard tanks to my watchdog. This is going to provide information. I'll throw it up here as you can see. And if you don't have one of these, that's like complete protection for your RV. And also, if you're wondering why I use my RV for load tests versus my home, well, it's a lot easier to replace my RV than it is my home, and all my clocks reset and everything else. And a load is a load regardless. It doesn't matter. The generator doesn't know if it's an RV or a house. So first thing we will look at is our pure sine wave. This is a clean wave. It's an inverter generator. So this is what we want to see, is a nice smooth line. The lines, if you look at them, they're all symmetrical, right? They all look the same. And that's what we want to see throughout our test, but a little bit of distortion is okay, somewhere between 3 and 5%, so we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so first thing we'll turn on is the AC unit. This will be the main one, and this is a 15K AC unit, and it does have a soft start on board, which I did forget to turn the low idle off, so it is on. And now you see the meters as they kick up, line 1 on the left, and now the compressor should kick on and away it goes. And so now we'll let that settle down for just a second, and then we're going to go turn on another AC unit up in the front bedroom. So this one is a 13.5K AC unit. This also has a soft start on board as well, because I use this to run off like the Delta Pro and other things. But turn the fan on first, let that sit for a second. Now turn on the cool, but we're going to turn it on and jam over to the oscilloscope so we can see the sine wave real quick. So come over here and come over there. Darn it, I bumped my probe. Okay, so now as we see it should kick on here in just a second, and we can see this little wave kind of deforming just a pinch. That's okay. What we're looking for is the wave to kind of crunch down or get jagged edges. But you can see our volts and our amps on both line 1 and 2, and the main power on the generator at 2.8. So far the wave looks good, and so far everything is fine. Okay, now that we've let that settle down for just a second, we'll turn on some more stuff. So this is going to be my electric water heater on board, and this is going to draw 1500 watts. These draw a lot of power, honestly, and you always want to make sure if you have a water heater of any type that it is full of water, or you can burn out the element real quick. It'll literally just pop like a light bulb. So go ahead and turn this on. This will be line 2 on the right, and you can see the wattage jump way up. 21 amps pulling on that side so far, and a little more than 4,300 watts of power. I'm going to turn on my inverter, and since I wired this for high power, this is going to pump out about maybe 500 watts depending on charge of the batteries. And so now you can see almost 5,000 watts. Take a look at the sine wave, and so far it's still really smooth up and down. We have that one little line of distortion, but that's not really a distorted line. I honestly don't know what to call that. I'm still learning the sine wave and everything myself. I did a bunch of studying, but there's just a lot to learn on these. And this is only a $250 scope, so our sine wave might be distorted just because it's a cheaper scope as well versus a $2,000 or $3,000 one. But okay, microwave test. Everybody always likes this. So if you wanted to just heat up some coffee or water or whatever it is you want to do, I have a cup of water in there. We'll turn this on for just 30 seconds or so, and we'll see the sine wave again as we get up into a higher load and just kind of see what this does. So here we go. Watch the numbers, and you can see kicking up there on the right side, line 2, over 30 amps and almost 4,000 watts on that line. And this is propane, so you get a little bit less on your max output. Take a look at our sine wave. And now you can see that little distorted line again. And again, 3 to 5% is acceptable, but I have seen a dirty sine wave before, and it's real jagged edges all the way at the peaks and the lows. So far, this doesn't look bad. If there's any experts out there, maybe throw in a comment, but this looks pretty good to me so far from everything I've read up on. Now overall, I mean, this is kind of overkill, honestly, right, for what I'm using it for. I'm going to use something much smaller for my RV. I'm going to use something that's 35 to 4,500 watts. But for a food truck or a home backup construction generator, this can pump out a lot of power. So I'm curious as to what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments down below.